So they never saw you slowing down, you never saw them coming too fast because of overconfidence. You will never see a beginner removing side mirrors. They know they need them. You never see them removing the indicators and putting some few stuff that don't even make any sense because they know they need them. Beginners will always try and put indicators on when they are changing lane. They are trying to communicate like a normal person. Have you ever asked yourself why experienced riders, experienced bikers, people who have been with motorcycles for long, are more vulnerable to getting into very serious accidents when compared to beginners? Today I want us to discuss why riding motorcycle becomes more risky, more dangerous as you continue to gather more experience. Welcome back to Two Wheels Paradise. Let's do this. First things first, who is an experienced motorcycle rider? Maybe someone who has been riding for 10 years, maybe 3 years, maybe someone who has had motorcycles for 6 months, someone who has bought 3 bikes within 2 years. Is that person considered experienced? That word experienced is relative. Relative. We have people who went to riding schools. They got trained on how to ride motorcycles. We have others who started their lives on motorcycles without nothing. They're just there. Bought a bike, some few safety gears, started riding through the village and through the estates, and 1 year down the line they are still riding. So if you consider this person experienced because they have been riding for 1 year, and someone who went to school and learned how to ride and they have been riding for 4 months, and you consider them inexperienced, then you might be long, you might be light. So it is relative. But the fact is, as you continue learning how to ride your motorcycle, you will start increasing speed, you start getting comfortable, you start adapting to the life on a bike. Riding becomes more dangerous. And you'll find that people who die mostly on motorcycles are people with some experience. People who consider themselves experienced. And this is the discussion I want us to have today. Why experienced bikers are likely to die in motorcycle accidents or get into very serious and nasty accidents when compared to beginners. One of the issues that makes experienced bikers get into more risks is overconfidence. Point number 1 is overconfidence. I want you to understand that riding motorcycles is all about having confidence in yourself. But overconfidence is not what we are talking about. We want you to have confidence in riding your motorcycle. We want you to be safe on the bike. We don't want you to have a lot of fear. Because if you have a lot of fear, you're panicking, you're not going to be safe. So for you to be safe, you have to be confident and comfortable. But we are not talking about being overconfident. Because being overconfident is totally different from having confidence. Overconfidence brings about recklessness. You're trusting yourself and your skills too much and a little bit too much. You are trusting yourself a little bit too much. You start now to view motorcycles like toys. You view motorcycles like toys. When you have overconfidence in riding motorcycles, it brings about other issues, including ignorance, arrogance, and you're going to fall prey to peer pressure. So when you have overconfidence in bikes, it brings about other issues that make it even more dangerous. Have you ever asked yourself why even drivers who are starting up their life on vehicles are not likely to get into serious accidents? They get into very many petty issues here. They hit a gate, they scratch someone's car while parking, a lot of petty issues that do not put them in any risk of either dying in that motor vehicle or getting the motor vehicle written off. But as people get more experience in handling vehicles, that's the point now they start getting into head-on collisions, they start getting into going wide into corners and hitting guardrails, they start overtaking on the left and hitting pavements. Those things are only found in people who consider themselves experienced drivers. And this is the same case with bikers. When people start off their riding life, you start with a lot of fear. This bike looks like it can kill you. Yeah? It's making you scared. But as much as it makes you scared, you love it. So you're going to treat it with a lot of care because you know it is dangerous, either way. However, as you continue riding, as you continue adding miles, as you can continue adding stories, you start now relaxing. And sometimes we relax a little bit too much. And that's what we are talking about here. Overconfidence. Overconfidence will make you believe you can ride a bigger bike than the one you have. Punching above your weight. And that's the situations where you find a friend took your bike and then they wrecked it completely. They broke it down completely. Just taking a bike from here and 3 minutes later, it's done, completely done. We have had those situations, so many of them. Someone comes and picks your bike and then it is done, completely done. Overconfidence, because they trusted their skills a little too much without knowing the reality behind it. Are you so skilled to handle this bike? Are you very sure about it? The other issue that comes with overconfidence is ignorance. Ignorance in your safety, ignorance in the safety of others. And also, you assume and ignore the capacity of the motorcycle you are handling at that moment. You'll see people without so much experience in motorcycles are very careful in their riding gear. Even if they are buying them cheap, second-hand, or whatever you call it, at least they are trying their level best to have knee guards, good jacket, some boots, even if it is safety boots for industrial works, some helmet, some gloves. They are trying so much to have gear because that is what they know at that point. For you to ride a bike, you need to be safe, and for you to be safe, you have to have safety gear. But after 1 year, 2 years, that's the time you find people without helmets, riding in normal office suits. That's the time you start now finding people riding with open shoes, sports, no gloves, yeah, t-shirts. You can only find those things in people who consider themselves experienced. Someone who is considering them a newbie, consider themselves a newbie, will never do those shenanigans. They will never do those things because they have fear. One thing you should never allow yourself to do is to get rid of motorcycle fear. The moment you start finding yourself, you no longer fear bikes. That is the time that disaster is calling. You should never answer that call. You should never answer that call. When you find that you no longer fear bikes, because when you no longer fear bikes, you start treating them like toys. You start treating them like toys. I want you to look at this. People who come from the villages like ourselves, like for me, because I was born in some village in Nyeri, we never had the cooking gas. We come from the fireplace where wood is the only source of energy. We never cooked with electricity, we never cooked with even charcoal. We have started finding charcoal in our older age. We only knew firewood. 3 stones, some firewood, sufuria, that's all. When you come to Nairobi and now start to find you cannot cook with firewood here, you start with things like stove, kerosene stove, then you get a meko, LPG meko, and then as you continue getting more money, you start now buying serious things like ovens, electric cookers, those things. The moment you start using LPG, the gas that we use at home, you have a lot of fear because you know that thing is dangerous. But 4 or 5 years down the line, you no longer care. You no longer care. You no longer care. You get so comfortable with it. And that is the time now disaster strikes. That's the time now disaster strikes. Let me show you something. When you buy your first bike, things like intercom for picking calls and listening to music, talking to some group rides guys and stuff like that are no longer in your are not in your budget. Not yet in your budget. You don't need them. You actually realize if something is bothering you or something is drawing your attention away from the bike, it is making you afraid, so you avoid them. But after a couple of months, that's the time now you start finding, I want to listen to music, I want to be able to pick calls, I want to do this. While riding, I want to do this. You are now starting to get confident on the bike. And that's the time now we start buying GoPros, we start buying a lot of stuff, accessories, to make your ride better. But as you continue, you get to a point where you can do a lot of things while still riding. Now, the bells of overconfidence are starting to ring so loud. So loud. So loud. Because you already know this road. I've been using Vika Road for 6 months now. It's almost 1 year. I know all the corners, I know all the junctions, I know everything. I know my bike, I know everything. So I am confident. So even if I start doing other things, I do not care. I don't care. Overconfidence bells are starting to ring. And that is the time when disaster strikes. Because a heavy truck will lose brakes. Some BMW driver is testing their top speed. Some Mercedes guy is trying to impress a girl that he found online, and she's just seated here. It is the first date. He has to prove that he can drive that Mercedes to top speed. And there you are listening to music. You don't even care. Actually, look at this. People who are starting to get experienced in bikes start to buy aftermarket accessories like indicators, side mirrors, brake lights, things that are not originally from that bike. You're starting to feel like the bike is starting to get boring. These side mirrors are not looking so good. I need better side mirrors. Which ones? The smaller ones. So you are starting to diminish the size of the accessories that are put on the bike for your safety. And you are starting to add accessories on your helmet, on your bike, to keep you busy on other things rather than riding your bike. Disaster. So you find that some vehicle lost brakes or some drunk driver is on full throttle. Your indicators don't even see anything, or maybe you don't even have them at all. You have completely deleted them. They are no longer there. So you can't even see what is happening from behind you. You have some bumps here, you have slowed down, but some Mercedes driver never saw the bumps. He was trying to open some gin bottle, some wine. He was trying to do something. He was trying to pick his calls, doing something. He never saw you throwing down. You never saw them coming so fast because you don't even have the side mirrors. Or you have already removed the brake lights and now you have some few things that don't even work. So they never saw you slowing down. You never saw them coming too fast because of overconfidence. You will never see a beginner removing side mirrors. They know they need them. You never see them removing the indicators and putting some few stuff that don't even make any sense because they know they need them. Beginners will always try and put indicators on when they are changing lane. They are trying to communicate like a normal person. But as you continue to get more experienced, you start now to ignore those things. You can change lane without indicating because you think you're so fast, nobody can catch up with you. You can take a junction from the 4th lane, Zeka Road, all the way to exit. A lot of shenanigans. And what you are doing, my friend, is just putting yourself at very, very, very unnecessary risk. So overconfidence is the biggest enemy to a motorcyclist. It also brings about arrogance. And when arrogance kicks in, that's the time now you start to engage in road rage. You're fighting with the drivers, you're fighting with everyone. Everyone makes a mistake on the road and you want to fight with them. Overconfidence, because you think, I'm going to break this side mirror and then I'm going to shoot and run away because my bike can speed. I know my bike, I know my skills, I know I can penya katikati and then I'm going to just vanish. Overconfidence makes you stupid because it will engage you in road rage, fighting with the people who are not even your enemies. Fighting with the people who are not even your enemies. Overconfidence. Finally, overconfidence puts you at the risk of falling prey to peer pressure. I am going for a group ride with 10 other people. Some people have been riding for 20 years. Some have been riding for 6 months. I have been there for 2 years. I am in between a concoction of skills. Some people can take corners at 200 kilometers an hour. I am going to think I can also do the same. And that is why group rides becomes very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because you are in between people who are also suffering from overconfidence. Others are scared. Others are in trauma. Others are in so much shenanigans that you do not even understand. So there you are. Someone who has been in a racetrack, somebody who has been trained to race, is taking corners at 170 kilometers per hour. You have never taken a corner at 90. Then you think, well and good, my bike can do it. I have an R6, I have a Gixxer 750. Let's do this, boy. Let's do this. And then you go straight into guardrails, straight into bridges, straight into houses. You'll be dead, bro. You'll be dead. Overconfidence is the biggest enemy to any biker. And that is the reason why experienced bikers die in motorcycle accidents at a higher rate than beginners. So if you're starting to find yourself, you are no longer afraid of bikes, you're no longer afraid of what is going on, start to think it could be overconfidence bells starting to ring in your head. And this is the right time for you to go back to class and learn how to ride advanced riding skills. We have so many people out here who are teaching advanced riding skills. Advanced. We have Coach Micah, we have Maribu Inked Bikers, we have Wasike, yeah? We have a couple of people we know by names who teach advanced riding skills. If you start to find yourself, you are no longer afraid of bikes, start to know you are getting into that level of overconfidence. Learning how to ride bikes never ends. Never ends. But when you get overconfident, you know everything. And when you know everything, that is how you die. My name is Meshach. See you next time. Two Wheels Paradise. God be with you.